Me? I was 5 years old when I first learned that I was deaf. Growing up, I thought maybe I was different because I couldn't hear. My parents told me, no, you can't hear. You're definitely different. And you need to go to school where you can learn how to speak and how to hear and read and write and learn English. And I felt kind of sad because it wasn't my language. It wasn't my culture. And I felt maybe the same as a girl, a Spanish-speaking girl, whose parents said, no, 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 you can't learn Spanish. We only want you to speak English. And no, I felt kind of terrible about that. But anyway, I was 5, and that was then, and now things are a little bit different. I've learned a lot about my language and about my culture. And I've learned that I have another family outside of my hearing family. And now I feel better. Not 100%, definitely not, but better. Maybe in the future, I'll go to Gallaudet University, a school for the deaf. And maybe in the future, my family growing up will be deaf and proud. But now, I speak, I use sign language. I feel okay. Could be better, but I feel okay. I guess I can't have both worlds, but I feel okay. I told them not to send my granddaughter to that school. I told them if you send her there, she's going to let go of her language. If you send her there, she's going to forget about her old man. But that wife, she's a deaf woman. She's a strong deaf woman. And she wouldn't have it. My son couldn't do anything. He finally agreed. So here she is, 12 years old. She can't speak a damn word to her pops. I'm not bitter. Meh. I might be. I just don't quite understand why she thought she could send her and expect that she would come back able to talk to her family. The school for the deaf with a capital D, they don't do nothing but sign language. Oh well. I guess I have other grandkids. But in the future, I told her, you will never disable my grandchild again by taking away an opportunity to learn, to speak, and to hear. I was 22 when I first realized that I was hearing. I showed up to Gallaudet University with my parents, and I got out of the car, and I was greeted by a deaf woman. And I waved, and I had very few signs that I knew at that point. I pretty much learned all the sign language that I have now while I was at the campus. And so she had asked me, I think, for my name. And I tried pretty slowly at first. And it probably kind of looked sort of something like this. And she said, "Again?" So I tried again. And she said, "Again, and your last name," and tried again with my last name. And she was getting really frustrated, as I can understand. And so she actually said, "Come with me." And we walked into the lobby, and she gave me a piece of paper. And I wrote down my name, and I wrote down the dorm room that I had been placed in. And that was the start of a language barrier that I had never experienced before. I have to be honest, it was tough to feel like I didn't have a voice. And also because I had a lot that I wanted to say to the people I was meeting, and I just didn't have the language to do so. I communicated a lot with deaf people through like instant messenger. I was never on Gmail, but that sort of a thing, and Facebook. But then the rest of it was just tough. For the first time I learned that I was hearing because every time I introduced myself to someone based on my signing ability, they would say, "You're hearing." And then the second that I said I was speech therapy, they immediately put up a wall between us. The sign for speech looks a lot like a muzzle. I don't know how much you know about the history of deaf people with a capital D, but a lot of them were oppressed and told to not use sign language. And some of them had their hands tied behind their back in school settings, and some of them were hit with rulers. This was way, 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 way back. But, you know, even now we look at it and we're generally trying to push them to learn how to speak and to hear. And we forget about the percentage of people who are deaf and are proud. And so it was cool to meet people and see both sides, but I was an outsider. And that's honestly the first time I had felt that way. Yeah, so I was 22 years old when I first learned that I was hearing.